In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit, one God. You may have noticed in the bulletin that we are going to have a movie day next Sunday. They're bringing back into the theaters for the 65th anniversary the movie The Ten Commandments. Happens to be one of my favorite movies, so you can tell why we picked that one to go see. Some of you have also shared your love for the film. It's a fun movie to watch. A lot of over-dramatic Moses and all that kind of stuff. It's kind of fun. But even though the title of the movie is The Ten Commandments, that only happens at the end of the movie. Literally, in the last 5 minutes of the movie, do you hear anything about the Ten Commandments? The story, the movie, is a story of Moses. Moses, who was born the son of slaves, who's sent down in a little raft his mother made to save him from Pharaoh's decree, killing all the infants, but found by the sister of Pharaoh and raised as her son. And this is exactly what we heard in today's epistle. We heard the following: Moses, when he was grown up, refused to be called the son of Pharaoh's daughter, choosing rather to share ill treatment with the people of God than to enjoy the fleeting pleasures of sin. You think about that. Someone who could have spent the rest of his life literally in the lap of luxury. The most powerful family of the most powerful nation at that time, obviously having the most wealth, he could have lived a life of moment-by-moment comforts and luxuries, but chose to go back to his existence as the son of slaves. And you see in the film how that is portrayed. From the perspective of faith, it makes sense. We don't even stop to think about it. But you take faith out of the equation, and you have to say, what a stupid thing to do. Could have lived every day with anything he wanted. Limitless luxuries of any kind. Says, no, I think I'd rather go and dance in the mud pits and make bricks and not have any food. How stupid. Now, you might think how terrible to say it's stupid, but it's stupid only from a perspective without faith. And those are the two words that I omitted when I quoted the beginning of today's epistle. By faith, Moses, when he was grown up, refused to be called the son of Pharaoh's daughter. By faith. And the epistle went on to talk about other acts of faith. Some were tortured, refusing to accept release so they might rise again to a better life. Others suffered mocking and scourging, even chains and imprisonment. They were stoned, they were sawn in two, they were killed with the sword. They went about in skins of sheep and goats, destitute, afflicted, ill-treated, wandering over deserts and mountains, in dens and caves of the earth. If you take out faith, again, the only conclusion is, how stupid. To choose suffering when you can escape it? That doesn't make any sense. And of course, we would never deign to think that these things are stupid. And yet what I want us to wrestle with this morning is, do we sometimes make the mistake of thinking faith and acts of faith are stupid? We might all want to say, well, I would never do that. I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't do something and say that an act of faith is stupid. How terrible. And sometimes in our self-protection, we don't speak to ourselves honestly. So we don't say that faith is stupid. And yet, when faith is called upon, how often do we make a different choice? From the simplest thing of getting up and giving God some time in prayer. Simple thing. We can't say we don't have time. All it takes is setting the clock ahead, 5, 10, 15 minutes. And of course, we don't say we don't do it because of a lack of faith. No, we wouldn't say that. Oh, I'm too busy. Oh, I'll do it later. Tomorrow I will. And we say things to ourselves like we have to live balanced lives. I'll pray in the car. All the excuses we make just for one act that takes a little bit of faith that so many of us struggle with doing on a daily basis. We're in the first week, having finished the first week of Great Lent. And how seemingly hard it is for us to fast, even just a little bit. And again, we make all kinds of excuses. And yet, what does it take? It takes a little bit of faith to say, well, the church has been doing this for 2,000 years. Jesus himself didn't say, if you fast. He said, when you fast. And yet, when we go to take that act of faith, how we have all kinds of excuses. We have to be more moderate. We have to be more balanced, we say to ourselves. And we come up with all kinds of acceptable names for looking at the perspective of faith and calling it really what all too often we really honestly think, if we're honest with ourselves, that it just doesn't make any sense. Why would we do that? Even this morning, you could have been home. Wake up, drink coffee, have a couple of scrambled eggs, fry up some bacon. But you came. Why? Not just habit. That's a part of it. If we're honest with ourselves, we do some things by habit. And let's be honest, as Christians, Sunday morning is a little bit of a habit for us. But Sunday night, Monday nights, Wednesday nights, they're not in a habit. And so it takes a little more faith. And yet all those excuses come. My brothers and sisters, faith is obviously never stupid. And yet, unless we confront the multitude of times that that's the reality that we're really saying, mostly just to ourselves, we're not going to confront and take our acts of unfaith and turn them into acts of faith. Because you see, without faith, those acts really are stupid. In fact, that's the definition of faith. You want to know what faith is? It's doing what in any other circumstance without faith, would be stupid. Why would you apologize to someone when they're the one that did it? Why would you go and say, did I offend you in any way? That takes faith. But in a worldly sense, that would be stupid. You don't give up your high ground. You don't give up your strength. We posture ourselves. And every act of faith, whether it's calling somebody up, maybe they won't remember me. Maybe they won't know who I am. Maybe I'm bothering them. And so every act of faith that comes to us gives us that twofold choice. To go forward in an act of faith that may very well feel very stupid. Or to place our faith, which, as I've said before, is placing our trust in God, and then doing what in any other circumstance would be stupid, but under the realm of faith is exactly the right thing to do. Faith isn't easy. Jesus never promised us it was going to be easy. As we're going to remember in just a few weeks on the Sunday of the Cross, at the midpoint of Lent, when we're at our weakest, we're going to be held up the cross. Yes, Jesus' cross, but also a reminder that all of us have crosses to take up. So it was never promised that the life of faith would be easy. And in fact, sometimes it can seem, if we're honest, downright dumb. And yet we know that faith is not dumb. Faith is the only thing we need. The only wise thing we do. Whether we exhibit that faith in our relationships, our marriages, with our kids, our parents, our brothers and sisters, our friends, our co-workers. To act in faith is always going to be harder. Every single time. Never easier to act in faith. In fact, it's one sign that when we take a step of faith, we're going in the right direction, because it is harder every time. And the opposite, to not act in that faith, can seem really smart. Why would we work harder when we can have life easier? And there's only one right answer to that question. And the answer to that question is faith. You know, we heard about faith in today's gospel as well. Philip heard about Jesus and went and told his friend Nathanael, we found the one, capital T, capital O, the one we've been waiting for centuries. Jesus of Nazareth. Nathanael answers back, Nazareth? And if I could paraphrase, what a stupid place to say that the Messiah comes from. Can anything good come out of Nazareth? A little backwater town, far from Jerusalem, far from the holy city? You see, Philip and then Nathanael had a choice of faith. To follow a step that could seem really dumb, but taken in faith in God, is the only right way to go. When Nathanael gave his answer to Philip, Philip said very simply, come and see. You think it's stupid what I'm saying? Come and see for yourself. And that invitation to come and see is the invitation that has come to all of us. God never asked any of us to just trust someone else. We're encouraged to do that. And we listen to the witness of all the saints whose icons surround us. We see examples of what faith looks like. Doing what the world without faith would call stupid, but through eyes of faith are the smartest, wisest things we can do. So we see their example, but it won't make our decisions for us. It doesn't relieve us of that difficult choice of doing what can really feel dumb, and only will not feel dumb through eyes of faith. So when we're invited to come and see, it's not just come hear somebody else. Philip didn't say to Nathanael, well, I'm telling you about it, and that's all you get. He said, come and see. Come and see for yourself. And since that moment until now, the church has been blessed to be able to answer that request, to receive that invitation and to take it up. And is in the gift of holy icons that we do that. You want to see Jesus? You don't have to try time travel back 2,000 years and go to Jerusalem or Nazareth. You come to church, you go to your icon corner, and you look into the eyes of Christ. And we do that. We look into the eyes of God. We're invited to come and see, and then we're giving the blessing of how to do it. And really, everything in the church, from icons, sacraments, services, scriptures, teachings, everything given to us in the church is the way to answer that invitation, to come and to see. At the pre-sanctified liturgy, we sing, "Oh, taste and see." That's stupid. How do you see? By tasting. And yet it's true. This morning when you come forward and receive Holy Communion, if you're prepared to do so, you're going to taste, and by tasting, see. It doesn't make any sense. From a worldly perspective, it's stupid. But from the perspective of faith, it's the most true thing any of us will do today. At the end of the liturgy, we're going to process around with the icons. It could just be a nice thing we do. Oh, look at the kids, aren't they cute? And they are. But they're carrying icons. Our kids and anyone else who wants to do it can come and carry icons in remembrance of those who in the church had lost all of her icons. Imagining coming in and seeing nothing but bare walls. And one day the icons will return. When? On the first Sunday of Lent, which is why today is the triumph of Orthodoxy. We can look into the eyes of an icon of Christ and see God. We can also look into the eyes of the Virgin Mary and her icon, or any of the saints, and not just see them, but you see the one that they saw, whether they saw him physically or not. You know, you can say your prayers to God in front of any icon, any saint, because in their eyes they were seeing God. And in their eyes, we can see God. So you and I are invited to receive that invitation today and to take it up, to come and to see for ourselves. That doesn't relieve us from the risk that having seen, we go out and we face all kinds of choices that people around us that don't understand faith will not understand, and therefore, if we act in those ways, will think about us, boy, these people are dumb. We've had church services every night for the last, 10, 11 days. We could be going home, putting our feet up, relaxing. It can seem the most stupid thing in the world to live a life of faith. And yet you and I know in our heart of hearts, just as if we're honest, we know that when we're not faithful, that's when we're really stupid, that faith is not stupid. We also know that that's where we find the most meaningful parts of our life. Take away faith, and what is left? Sure, you can amass money, as much as Pharaoh had in his household, that Moses could have had. But by faith, he traded all that in for something that you can't even compare to how much better it is. So what? To build up wealth and riches and comfort and luxury. For what? We heard in the gospel a few months ago in the parable of the man who died. Fool, this night your soul is required of you. And when you and I face that moment to leave this life and go into the next, whether that be a life of paradise or a life of punishment, eternally so, at that point, we don't want to hear the word fool, because at that point, we're going to know what really was stupid. It really is stupid to not have faith in God, and the smartest thing is to follow Him. It won't always feel that way. I want to end with a quote that I shared with you over a year ago, but it's so important to understand what is shared here. It's from Father Thomas Hopko in his book about Lent. It says the following: people feel unhappy, and they don't know why. They feel that something is wrong, but they can't put their finger on what it is. They feel uneasy in the world, confused and frustrated, alienated and estranged, and they can't explain it. They have everything, and yet they want more. And when they get it, they are still left empty and dissatisfied. They want happiness and peace, and nothing seems to bring it. They want fulfillment, and it never seems to come. Everything is fine, and yet everything is wrong. Why is this so? Because, the church tells us, we are not really at home. We are in exile. We are alienated and estranged from our true country. We are not with God our Father in the land of the living. We are spiritually sick, and some of us are already dead. But our hearts are made for God, St. Augustine has said, and it will be forever restless until we rest in Him. The Lenten season is the time for our conscious return to our true home. It is a time to set aside for us, the time to come to ourselves and get up and go to divine reality to which we truly belong. My brothers and sisters, that's faith. That's faith. Through all the seemingly stupid things that the world would say are stupid, that's true faith. If we don't ignore that feeling of stupidity and taking our acts of faith, we'll keep going back and making the same mistakes. Let's accept the fact that we too often have confused faith for stupidity and make better choices. To make the choices to come and see is true faith. True faith. And true faith is anything but stupid. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit.